Kolbe Prison Retreat Ministries is the coolest thing on the face of the earth. Have you ever done prison ministry?
No.
Okay, so my first introduction to prison ministry was maximum security Texas State Prison largely for violent offenders.
Oh boy.
Yes, yeah, gangland stuff, people who are gang affiliated. Now, and I can tell you this, number one, no ministry on the face of the earth that I have done, and I think I've demonstrated I've done a lot, has changed me more for the better than prison ministry.
Really?
No, nothing has shocked me more, opened my eyes more, radically punched me in the spiritual gut of where I've gone wrong in ministry more, the assumption, I mean, just a total 180 in so many things. Also, you realize that most men in prison who are violent offenders, they had no freaking chance. Their dads beat them, raped them, hurt them, abandoned them. All the male figures in their life that should have been there for them weren't. And their mother, and then the kids became these like angry balls of terror. And their mothers, so many of them would tell me that their mothers are the ones who introduced them to drugs and alcohol just to calm them down. So then they found a gang. They found brothers when they didn't have fathers. And so for so many of these men to go to them, you're like, every human being that was in that circumstance would make the same choices that they did.
Yeah. As a teacher, I've seen kids like that, like, oh man, this kid's going to fall prey to something like that. And no matter how you try, you get that feeling that later on in life, that's what's going to happen. They, like you said, they didn't have a chance.
Yeah. And nothing owns my heart more than the prison ministry, but the kind of like, is I'm so sad because I can never get it to work in my schedule. So I was going to try to go. Jeff Cavins is coming down. My buddy Jerry, he's such an awesome guy. My buddy, he gets everything set up. We're going to do ministry to a group of people that have never had ministry done for them, which is, in terms of retreats, which is the G5s, which is the segregated unit, administrative segregation, also known as solitary confinement guys. Ooh. These are guys who spent decades in a 10-foot by 8-foot cell. They only go out for like 15 minutes to an hour and a half.
Wow.
These are people who most of them are psychologically, major issues. But, just the world, when you go and meet inmates and actually put aside the label and hear their stories, regardless of what they've done in the past, you can meet the human person, right? And in Texas, we're like, forget those people, right? They did the crime, they can do the time, blah. But what you find out is like once you hear the 30th story of my mom's boyfriends used to beat the hell out of me, and it just like makes your blood curl and makes you like, you see this sounds so dumb. Here's a man who has committed heinous acts of violence, and you see that he's a child. You see the 6-year-old boy in him, and you're like, I get it, and it breaks your heart. There's a poem. I'm a dramatic human being, but there's a poem about Saint Michael by James Russell Lowell, and he talks about taking the things that we love and putting them gently in one side of the scale, science and gold and the power of Caesar and all this stuff, and then the things humanity disregards he throws it casually into the other scale. And it says, in the other scale he threw things regardless, outcast few, martyr ash, arena sand, of St. Francis's quarter strand, and then this is my favorite part, disillusions and despairs of young saints with grief-grayed hairs, and broken hearts that break for man. And when I think about that, I think about the guys in the prison who, like, once you hear their story, your heart breaks for the child that they could have become, for the man they could have become. And then you want to work so that image can actually happen. So what I'm trying to do is write an apologetics book for the men in prison. We filmed some videos back at St. Anthony's. My homeboy Jay Martin has slogged through these videos, trying to get them up to be an introductory course for men to get apologetics, Catholic scriptural apologetics. The writing of the book coincides with the videos, but I can tell you, I have learned a lot more about my Catholic faith in trying to speak these truths more powerfully and more simply than my years of catechetics and stuff at a graduate level.
What's it like walking into the prison? Paint me a picture. Are you behind like a glass? Do you talk to them on a telephone?
Nope.
Is it a metal table? What is it?
Yeah. So this is how it works at the Ferguson, right?
Okay.
So I show up at 5:05 a.m. We're all outside. We can start going through security a little bit before 6, but principally at 6. The retreat is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We show up. As soon as I get there, Jerry hands me this giant card, and it's a deliverance prayer from the power of Satan. And I go, oh, wow, what's this? And he goes, well, we found out that the satanic cult was cursing us all week when they found out we were coming.
Oh, wow.
So, and I just remember looking at that going, ho, do not tell my wife. Oh, no. So we pray the prayer. We go in, and I'm staring at a sign. It's after multiple layers of security. They have to close the gate behind you before they open the gate in front of you. And it's the last gate before you're in general population. We call it general pop, no big deal. And and right above that last gate, there's a big red sign, and it says, warning, no hostages will be permitted past this point. Thank you, Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
Oh, boy.
And I remember it was 5:30 in the morning. I hadn't had coffee yet. And I'm staring at that sign. I'm like, what does that mean? Why would someone take a hostage outside in the parking lot and drag him into the prison? And then I realized as I'm walking through it, oh, I am voluntarily doing this. Yeah. If there should be, I don't know, a hostage situation, a prison riot, and they go after the slow, fat, chubby homeschooler guy who can't run very fast and makes an excellent human shield, by the way, they're not going to trade me for 12 pizzas and a helicopter like they do in the movies.
Yeah.
You voluntarily came here. Do you know what the rules are to get out of a hostage situation in a prison?
No.
This is the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. These are the rules. Number 1, do everything they tell you.
Okay.
Number 2, do not make eye contact.
Okay.
Number 3, if you can, try to go to sleep.
Try to sleep?
Try to go to sleep. Because usually they take 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
And usually the person doing it is out of their mind because they're hyped up on some sort of illegal narcotic that somehow they got smuggled in.
Okay.
And usually they crash and fall asleep. And that's how these things resolve themselves.
So if you fall asleep, by the time you wake up, the whole thing's going to be over.
You can wake up and be like, what, is it noon already? And then they're gassing in the room.
And then what's the other?
So it's don't make eye contact.
Okay.
And do everything they tell you. And then go to sleep.
Just those 3 things?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have other things, but those are the only ones I remember. Okay. And I remember telling this to my wife, and she's like, what? And I go, yeah, because literally, these guys just tire themselves out. And she's like, that is so crazy. How could anyone ever sleep? And then she looked at me and she's like, oh, wait, that's your superpower. I was like, I'm a dad. I can fall asleep anywhere. This is a hostage negotiate? Okay, that's fine.
Let me just take a nap here. Yeah.
I just need a corner in a moment.
Well, that's true, because whoever the cops are, the negotiators, they can take shifts, but there's only one hostage taker. Yeah.
So doing prison ministry, we go into the Chapel of the Prodigal Son, which was funded by I believe it was a local Baptist church built it. It's an air-conditioned building. It's the only air-conditioned thing outside of the administrative wings. So most of the cell blocks are not air-conditioned. Texas prison in the summer. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So men will come just to get in the air conditioning.
Oh.
And we're totally cool with that.
Okay.
We have
however they come in the door, yeah.
Yeah, we do have a captive audience.
Yeah.
You get captive. Okay, that's sad. That's sad. I shouldn't say that. But and we're just sitting at round tables like you would on any retreat. In fact, the moment that after the red sign, the moment that I realized I was shocked by how unshocking everything was I looked around. I was a small group leader and just looked around at all the tables. And you see guys dominating the conversation. That one guy at every table has to dominate it. You see guys half listening. You see guys who are, waiting to respond. You see what you see at every retreat. And I was like, oh, turns out they're human beings, right? And so retreat was just the only difference is we're in our little t-shirt, our red colored shirts, and they're all wearing white.
Are they, do they have chains and stuff on them?
No. Nope. My mom asked me one time, she goes, when you do these prison things, how many guards are in there? And I go, 1. And she usually sits in the back. And she goes, 1?
So somebody could lunge across the table and
absolutely. Absolutely. While that is a possibility, it probably won't happen for a couple of reasons. They don't allow people to even apply to go on these retreats if they suspect that that's the type of behavior they'll see.
Okay.
So in prisons, they have G1s, which are the most, they have the most privileges, the most freedom. They don't have any. I remember I was talking to a guy and I go, what are active cases? He's like, well, to come on a retreat, you can't have active cases in the last 18 months. I go, what's an active case? He goes, well, breaking the rules here in a significant way, that it's the court within the court, or the rules within the rules, the law within the law. I go, what would bring an active case? He goes, if someone stabbed someone. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so you haven't stabbed anyone in 18 months? And he's like, nah, man, I'm good. And these are also these inmates, this is their life. And so they know how to play the game. They know how to like, yeah, okay, I'm done with this stuff. Especially a lot of the older guys. They're like, I'm not going to do this crap anymore.
Yeah.
This is the next 20 years of my life. I'm not going to get caught up in something that might get me severely injured, might disable me for the rest of my life if I get hit with a pipe or something, like because I'm smarting off to someone, you know, that's going to get 10 more years out of my sentence because I attacked a volunteer. Most of these guys would never do that. Then we had G3s. And the G3s, right? Those are the guys who, I remember at one retreat, just everything felt different from the beginning. It felt a little edgier. And then the guys sharing, some of them were dropping some cuss words, and usually they don't do any of that.
Okay.
And then the chaplain came in and he overheard it and he goes, whoa, cut this off now or this whole retreat is over. And we were like, oh, okay, like we didn't understand really what was happening. And then we found out these are the eligible G3s. So it goes G1, G2s. We've always had G1s and 2s. We've gone through almost the entire population of G1s and 2s going to our retreat.
Okay.
G3s are the next level of security. G4 and 5 are administrative segregation. G4s, they have a cellmate. G5s, they're solitary.
Okay.
So that's the level.
Okay.
And so G3s, you're like, okay.
They're on the bubble.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay.
It can be, it's a little bit more dangerous. But I never once, you know, I hear a guy who talking about with fondness about back when he was out in the world, a drive-by shooting, like, oh, I remember that. That was his first time that I met him. And now he's in here with me. And you're like, huh. So these experiences have taught me that, like, prison is a reality, but prison is very institutional. And we've built these structures of pipelines into prisons. And, you know, I'm a kind of guy, like, I want people to be punished, not just rehabilitated. Like, you did a crime, you did an awful thing. But what I found is we don't really care about these people at all. And it's to a dangerous extent. And I really do believe what we say, what we do to the most defenseless people in our society says more about us than it does about them. So what we do to the elderly, what we do to the unborn, what we do to inmates, what we do to the chronically ill, right? This says what we do to women, right? Like, this says something about our society systematically.
Yeah.
And so while I don't think every inmate should have like a mani-pedi and have cable TV, like, I don't think, like, I'm not Mr. Indulgent, but what you realize is, and part of it is just because there's not enough money to fund the amount of guards that they need. That, like, it's crazy, but like, and when you don't have enough guards, it becomes dangerous for the current guards and it becomes more dangerous for the inmates.
Yeah.
And so you just see this cycle and you're like, oh Lord, what can change this? And I don't know the answer. I don't have any answers except the love of Jesus Christ and programs that change lives like Kolbe.